Welcome to NFL Daily, where the holidays are coming. Holidays are coming. Holidays are coming. It's just stuck in my head. It's got to be stuck in all of yours.
Magic.
And the playoffs are coming too. I'm Gregg Rosenthal. I'm here in the Chris Wessling podcast studio with my friends Jourdan Rodrigue and Patrick Claybon for a very important Week 16 recap.
Most importantly, how you nailed the exact cadence of the commercial. I would argue better than the one that's on the app.
Well, that's because it never stops. I just walk around all day. That's all I hear. In my house, everyone was annoyed by that commercial too. So, of course, we just were saying that all the time, and it just never ends.
The best part is sitting next to Greg in the newsroom, and every once in a while, there's like a lull in the game action, and then all of a sudden, it's very quiet. It's just Greg to Greg. Holidays are coming.
Okay, let's just stop it. You know what they're not celebrating?
Oh, boy.
On Sunday, December 21st, the great city of Detroit. We got to start there.
Two-man rush coming here for the Steelers. Goff guns towards the end zone. Caught, tackled short of the end zone. There is a flag as Amon-Ra St. Brown was, did they call a whistle? There was a lateral. Oh, there's all kinds of craziness going on here.
The ruling on the field is a touchdown. However, pass interference, number 14 on the offense. By rule, that penalty is not enforced, and there is no replay. The game is over. There is no touchdown.
It's a great lesson. How you present a set of facts, the order of those facts can sometimes be almost more important than the facts themselves. He should not have led with the touchdown. It was not a touchdown. No. And I understand that's just how they do it, but all those Lions fans and Patrick Claybon and myself and anyone that wanted to see a good NFC wildcard race was disappointed in that moment, although we saw it coming. That was Rob King on WDVE. Let's get into the Steelers going into Detroit, beating the Lions 29-24 in a game that I was not expecting to lead the show with. Bears-Packers on Saturday night, to me, was the game of the year. But what this means in the NFC North and the rest of the NFC and the way this finished, I felt like we just had to start at the end. So let's start there with that final sequence, Patrick, and how the Lions failed to win this game.
Well, ultimately, it wasn't just the order of operations, because the way he explained it was that the penalty was not enforced, which would have caused the crowd to celebrate once again.
The doctors did the best they could.
And he's going to make it. Actually, no, he's not. We couldn't save him. We did all we could. His heart's still beating, but everything else isn't really working. So it's offensive pass interference, which is a loss of down. The penalty is enforced. And so the Lions lose the game after Amon-Ra pitches it to Jared Goff. They call him running into Jalen Ramsey right there at the end zone, which is the line of game because it was 4th and goal. Call him for offensive pass interference. 4 plays after, Isaac Tisla is called for offensive pass interference that gives the Lions what would have been a touchdown to Amon-Ra St. Brown, which is legitimately the story of the actual game. You get it there in the call from the official, and you hear the crowd celebrating and then going back to being sad, because that was the extent of the game. The Lions could do nothing on offense for a majority of the first half. The Steelers have a 3-point lead. And then there's an Isaac Tisla touchdown, and the Lions have the lead, and you're thinking, yes, Lions back in this. Kenneth Gainwell catches the most improbable touchdown where I thought the ball had hit the ground. No, Kenny G caught it, gets back up, goes past Alex Anzalone into the end zone for a touchdown. Just one of the best plays I've seen all year.
I think that might be the catch of the year. I mean, it is up there. Certainly one of the biggest plays of the year in terms of it combined insane skill by Gainwell. I mean, to somehow get his arm under that. The presence of mind to get up and score, but more that they did score with like no time left on the clock at the end of a first half where they couldn't do anything and got it, to tie it at 10. And you said at that moment, oh, the Steelers are going to win this game. And they came out in the second half, and to be fair, they earned this win. 481 yards. They put it on a Lions defense, which I know they're injured, but they're just terrible right now, and it's sad that they are almost certainly now going to miss the playoffs.
The second week in a row where the Steelers have come out, and we put it a lot on the Miami Dolphins defense last week. At a certain point in the third quarter, they had run 25 plays to the Lions 3. They couldn't get off the field. They get huge chunk plays from Kenneth Gainwell, as well as Jaylen Warren, who hit 2 home run balls. And again, the Lions were out of this game. I'm thinking this game's over. They come back, get a touchdown, ultimately late in the fourth quarter. And I'm thinking, well, they can't stop the Steelers on the ground. They ultimately still don't stop the Steelers on the ground, but Chris Boswell misses an improbable field goal. I remember earlier in the series, or maybe that was last season, go back and look for Chris Boswell missing field goals in that situation. Literally has not happened.
That was this season. It was coming off the idea when Mike Tomlin called him a serial killer. So serial killers, sometimes they miss too.
And so
thank God when they do, right?
Yeah,
in real life.
Shout out Dexter.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes I get in my mentions that I look like Thomas C. Hall, which is, I know you don't like it.
Is it
I don't necessarily think.
No, I don't
is it your
so
burner account typing that to yourself?
I mean, sure.
Big moment in the writer's strike having Dexter on CBS. Brought a lot of people to that show. Great program.
So the end sequence where, Boswell misses that. They go down the field. It felt indicative of where this Lions team has been lately, which is no running game whatsoever. And that was the case to the extreme today. They had 15 yards. I mean, that's outrageous.
Nasty.
Jahmyr Gibbs with 2 yards on the ground. But Goff has been really up for the fight, and I think overall playing really well. And it looked like they had scored the game-winning touchdown. I think the offensive pass interference on Amon-Ra on the last play of the game was absolutely the right call. I'm shocked, actually. I've seen a lot of people saying, like, how can you call that in that spot? How can you even call that? It's like, that was literally the reason he was open. He pushed as hard as he could. That was a good call.
Bench press that.
The first down call I thought was great. It was a little crazy on Tesla.
Yeah,
and they would have scored it anyway, so it was unnecessary.
Well, you think about how rare it is in a game that even one offensive pass interference is called, let alone multiple offensive pass interference calls on the same drive, including in the same area, general area of the field, to dramatically affect the game in multiple ways. I mean, you can, say what you want about fair, not fair, whatever. I think it bothers the collective society, whether or not you agree with the calls or not, when the officials insert themselves into the game like that.
Well, especially when it takes away the most athletic moment of Jared Goff's career. Taking that pitch, jumping into the end zone. What a finishing moment that would be. And yet it's not. And it's basically the finishing moment for this Detroit Lions team. I mean, it really is. They are now a game and a half
Hurts.
back of the Packers. We're going to get to the Packers-Bears game. If you're listening to this, you obviously know the results of that. And this win by the Steelers clinches a playoff spot for two separate teams. The 49ers, before playing Monday night, they're in the playoffs. The Bears officially are now in the playoffs, and the Lions are going to have to win their last two games and basically have the Packers lose out for any chance to make the playoffs, which, we'll just say it, crazier things have happened, but not a good spot, obviously. And I hate to say it, Patrick, but you do got to give him credit. You got to give Aaron the Rodgers Sans is on. He's playing his best ball in the last 3 weeks. Their offense is getting it done.
And the protections, the play calls from Arthur Smith, especially in the second half of these last 2 weeks, as much as I have not wanted it to happen. There was a 1st and 20 in the fourth quarter where they get a holding call, and Rodgers with, just precognition on a ball to DK Metcalf down the sideline that he's able to turn around and get. And then Warren has a long, I believe, 45-yard touchdown run right after that, where it's just consistently over and over again, the physicality, even when things weren't working. Darnell Washington got called for an offensive pass interference. If you want to put the two OPIs on split screen and see one that's easily an offensive pass interference, where Darnell Washington sets a moving Andrew Bogut screen on DJ Reed that actually takes him out of the game, he would go on to run over DJ Reed later on a reception, where DJ Reed, the last thing he wants to see is big number 80 moving on a football field anywhere. But just that physicality, even when they don't work out for the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's having an impact late in these games.
It is, and it haunts me still, that moment after the NFC Championship game with the Lions 2 years ago when Dan Campbell said, we don't know. This might have been our only shot. I don't think Lions fans should feel that way, but they're going to very likely have to wait another year to get a real shot to get that close again. And you wonder, man, how in the year 2025 do you win a game, dominate offensively, almost get 500 yards, and your leading wide receiver is Adam Thielen with 49 yards? Here's how you do it. You mentioned Jalen Warren's 45-yard touchdown. He had 2 of those, 2 45-yard touchdowns. And then Kenny Gainwell, with that catch, ends up getting 128 yards from scrimmage. They have been dynamite in the backfield and the offensive line, and they are playing their best ball. We're wrapping up this recap with the Ravens-Patriots. So we don't know that result as we're taping it. That obviously is going to be big in the AFC North, but the Steelers put themselves into a very nice position with a win. That's the AFC North. Let's talk about the NFC North and the latest entrant into the game of the year of the week. We've had 2 of them this week.
First down in 10-eye formation with Komet right. Snap. Caleb, play fake, looking to throw, going deep, searching for DJ Moore, over the shoulder, catch, made, touchdown Bears! It's over at Soldier Field. The Iceman cometh, the Iceman taketh a 46-yard spiral to the end zone to DJ Moore. What a strike. Ben Johnson going for the big ball. And it's Captain Crunch time. Caleb does it again.
What a call.
What a catch.
Wow.
What a call. Jeff Joniak on WMVP. We got about 64% of the precincts reporting. I think we have our throw of the year.
Yeah.
It is hard for me to imagine a better combination of skill and moment than that Caleb Williams throw to DJ Moore. And the crazy part is Caleb's throw last week for the touchdown is on the short list. I think it's on the podium. It's in the top 5 for throws of the year. That was a week ago. And he had another throw in this game that at least is getting nominated on the long list. Hell, let's listen to it. This is the 4th down to help end regulation to Ja'Day Walker.
4th and 4, 28 seconds to go. Walker and Zacchaeus out to the right. Packers are going to blitz. Caleb Williams with Swift to his left, takes the snap, blitz is on, being chased, got to lob it, right corner of the end zone, up in the air. Catch made by Jay Walker, touchdown! What? Are you kidding me? That throw to Ja'Day Walker. Far right corner of the end zone, and the Juby shuffle by the rookie out of Texas A&M.
Great play call. Great throw. That's one of those plays where, as it's happening, like, I felt like the fans in Detroit going through the up, through the down. You see the free rusher. It is right on to Caleb, and you're thinking, oh, this play is over. He's sprinting right, and then if you're looking in the back, you say, oh, Walker's open as he throws it, and that ball is so high in the air during the play, I think he is not going to catch that ball. This game is over. The Packers are going to pull out a signature win in the Matt LaFleur era, and instead it falls perfectly into the hands of Walker. What a performance at the end of this game by Caleb Williams and this Bears team.
Oh, it was a classic instantly. In those 2 plays specifically are so indicative and descriptive of the Caleb Williams experience because he was otherwise not good under pressure through most of the game. 5 for 11 when pressured on his dropbacks. But those 2 touchdowns stick out like a sore thumb on his advanced next-gen stats chart because those 2 touchdowns are what ultimately wins this game for the Bears. So showing up in the absolute most crucial moments against a Packers defense that battled, man, the entire game. And there's nothing you can do about that because when magic decides to happen, when lightning decides to strike, it's an act of God. You cannot change it.
I mean, you could have done a couple of things, but we'll get to those.
Yeah.
Maybe not the defense, but the offense at least.
And those both of those touchdowns come when Jeff Hafley, in those moments, decides to blitz Caleb Williams, and he comes up and he makes them pay. With the ball to Walker is there was only one place, honestly, that the ball could be, considering where the pressure was getting to him, and he did a good job of evading pressure and running over the course of the game. Where obviously, Packers fans, it's frustrating to have Jordan Love be hit. Just a helmet-to-helmet shot that should not have happened. We have to get that out of the game, and he's able to. He leaves the game, and Malik Willis comes in and plays well. But clearly, that clouds the view for Packers fans. Well, because last night I'm thinking, wow, what a magical night in Chicago. Bears fans have been waiting for this for a while. And, folks in Green Bay or, adjacent point out that, hey, a lot of things happened that probably shouldn't have.
Sure. Yeah. Jordan Love leaves with a concussion. They're missing their 2 best offensive linemen. The Bears, to be fair, are missing 2 of their best pass catchers in this game.
That's why it has to be Jourdan Walker
in
that spot.
Right. Exactly. And the fact that he was well coached enough to do it in that spot. And yet, the Bears are having kind of a negative 8 days until their next game. And all the coverage is going to be negatively slanted. And everyone's going to talk about, I guess the Bears just aren't ready to win with the big boys. The Packers, without their guys, are going to be 5-0 in the division, if not for a fumble on special teams by Romeo Doubs. Do they count that as a fumble? I guess they don't, because he never had possession of it. But you have that onside kick. Romeo Doubs, he's known for his hands, and he gets hurt on the play too. He hurts his wrist, but they ask him about him afterwards, and he just said, look, that's all on me. It's 100% on me. I backed up. Not to back up on an onside kick, and the kind of in-between hop got him, and I just, completely made a mistake, and then he got injured on the play as well. And if you're a Packers fan, you're getting flashbacks to 2015.
Oh, don't do it to him, Greg.
In that NFC Championship game. If you're watching us on YouTube, we got all the rights. We can show the highlights. Sorry to Brandon Bostic. You know what's crazy, too, is that game ended, too, with a big bomb down the field that has kind of gotten lost, at least to me, to history. And I'm sure Seahawks fans don't forget it, but that Jermaine Kearse catch from Russell Wilson was not that dissimilar to this DJ Moore play. It's just, this is kind of an all-time game, all-time play, and now the Bears are in control of the NFC North.
And in defense of Bostic and to Romeo Doubs, there's any number of plays where things, in onside kick, late comeback situations, it's just a
absolutely true
sequence.
And a lot more happened before and afterwards, but that is the one where you think because it's just so rare that if he catches it, the game is over there. But to your point, and Matt LaFleur was quick to point this out afterwards, they went 0 for 5 in the red zone. Mm-hmm. They really dominated kind of the time of possession, the play throughout the game. They went 0 for 5, kept settling for field goals. They had the fumble inside the 5-yard line. That was Josh Jacobs, right? You had the onside kick. And then in overtime, they got a chance to win the game in overtime, and Malik Willis played awesome. That's the thing is I don't think Love's injury mattered at all, because I can't imagine playing that much better than Malik Willis played at quarterback. He was great, but they fumbled the snap on a 4th and 1 in overtime, and maybe that's where his inexperience showed up.
Well, I actually want to give Malik Willis a little bit more benefit of the doubt than that, because yes, he's inexperienced, but he had the crap knocked out of his hand earlier, so you could really tell he was in a great deal of pain. And obviously that's the hand that collects the snap and then exchanges the ball with that sort of center to quarterback to running back, et cetera, exchange. And so I don't necessarily, it obviously was a huge title moment in the game. It swung so many things. It gave the Bears the ball with a chance to hit the walk-off situation because of these overtime rules. And so I feel terrible for Malik Willis, who, oh my God, threw a couple dimes, including a fadeaway jump shot down the field. And we were texting each other all game, Greg. It was throw of the year this nominee and throw of the year that nominee. And every time 5 game minutes went by, there was another nomination.
Hell, let's listen to Willis's touchdown pass to Romeo Doubs in happier times for the Packers.
Malik Willis in the shotgun with a sent back to his right. Here's the snap to Willis. He looks to throw. He lofts it. Left side for Doubs. Over the shoulder.
Yes!
Green Bay Packers. Romeo Doubs on a sensational throw from Malik Willis. A 33-yard touchdown pass to beat Kevin Byard.
He was throwing dimes, and he threw it in overtime too to get to that, set up that 4th and 1. He was incredible. I think just as a pure runner, I don't know if there is a better quarterback at running the football now. I'm knocking where Lamar is at this point in his career. He is so talented as a runner, and he spun it throwing the ball. And at this game, to me, it really is. It would be my pick for the game of the year, and which is crazy because that made it just 13-3 after 3. But the whole thing was just great gameplay and back and forth.
It really showed that having Malik Willis as a backup quarterback is such a weapon, because those two are so dramatically different, and it took time for the Bears to adjust. One big part, I think, the play of the game before the bad snap or fumbled exchange between Willis and the center was T.J. Edwards actually tracking down Malik Willis for what felt like the first time on the play before that, where the play breaks down, he's rolling to his left, decides to go for a run for the first down, and Edwards gets a nice stop that ultimately sets up the turnover on fourth down, where they couldn't stop Malik Willis running the ball. It was just like it was in the shotgun, like McNairish.
And yet,
Malik Willis.
They did. And that's the thing with this Bears team. It seems like it's not repeatable week after week. And then they keep repeating it. Like this Dennis Allen team, which had no pass rush during the game, they really did bow up in the red zone. They really did get that one key turnover. And it was Nashawn Wright, as always.
Yeah, right.
Like, send him to the
right place,
Pro
right
Bowl.
time. I'm trying to make it a thing.
And
It worked.
And, before this game, Caleb Williams had already tied the NFL record for comeback wins in the final 2 minutes of a game with Peyton Manning. And technically, this doesn't count as one, I don't think, because it wasn't in regulation. But they essentially did it at the end, too. And even then, you mentioned he wasn't, like, playing that great, but he did have that throw. And DJ Moore, who had the touchdown, he had the throw to DJ Moore on the drive to tie the game, right? But before that, Ja'Day Walker. And that drive at the end of regulation was absolutely money from him. Just an awesome football game, and a game that puts Chicago in position to have a higher seed in the playoffs.
And listen, even though some of the stuff is going to look maybe to our eyes a little bit more out of structure than it feels to him, because he's used to playing this way, like he was in total command the entire game. He was in total command. When they come down to the crunch time of this game, even that entire fourth quarter, even when they were in a deficit, even when this defense had totally figured out, and compliments to the Packers defense here, had totally figured out by rearranging their safeties how to completely neutralize Colston Loveland in this football game. And one of his favorite targets that already missing two of his favorite targets, and then one of his favorite targets was all but absent from the game at that point because of the way that the Packers adjusted. Total command and control for Caleb Williams this entire time. And when you feel that, you're going to make the right decisions and the right plays in crunch time, even if they look like magic miracles to us. It just is it's a given. Did you hear what he said after? He said, I can make any throw. They're like, throwing across your body. Like, are you? He's like, I can make any throw.
Yeah,
yes, he can.
They practiced that exact play this week, and they hit it then too.
And he's having to throw in a game where you had gusts of up to 26 miles an hour. The ball was affecting the passes, but also shout out to Cairo Santos, who hit a field goal that I thought it was a rough decision. I love kicking field goals. I'm looking from the end zone angle. Both of the goalposts are doing the wave. And I'm like, there's no way. He plays the outside of the upright, and the ball comes back in, and he has the onside kick. Great kicking game from Cairo Santos.
Cairo Santos, giving us Tulane Green Wave fans something to smile about on a rough Saturday.
Yeah, sorry.
And he waxed that onside kick too.
He did a fantastic job, and I know we've gone so long. This is a game that we could have done 40 minutes on, like we did for Rams and Seahawks. But I don't care. We still got to hear what the Ben Johnson locker room was like afterwards.
Hell yeah!
Let me tell you something right now. This is a special group.
And before we go, I mean,
you saw him in the background.
This was, I don't know if you guys know this, but the second throw of the year to feature DJ Moore.
Let's see it again.
In the last 4 years. If you remember, one of the greatest plays of the entire decade, it was controversially named by me in 2022 as the best throw of the year. And yes, DJ Moore was on the other side of it.
Walker on first down, moving to his left. And now Walker fires downfield, looking for DJ Moore. Makes a diving catch for a Panthers touchdown. Wow! 62 yards. Carolina has tied the game.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, the flag.
Shout out to Kenny Albert. We don't talk about the flag in this house. Yes, DJ Moore got a penalty there, so there wasn't a walk-off, but it was good. And it was Ja'Day Walker here, not PJ Walker. But man, PJ Walker will always have that play. And
All
look,
roads lead to Walker.
yes,
Greg.
this game is going to live in the memory, kind of like that Jaden Daniels Hail Mary from a year ago. The division's not quite over yet, but the magic number is essentially 1 for the Bears in terms of wins or Packers losses. Now, the Bears are at San Francisco and home for the Lions. The Lions have been known to win games in Week 18 with nothing on the line for them, and maybe that'll be the case. But those aren't gimmies, so they got to win one of those, or they have to have the Packers lose to either the Ravens or the Vikings. All right, we got to speed it up. We'll go to Carolina, where the NFC South part 1 of a great 2-part movie series was on Sunday.
Mayfield in the shotgun, twins to the right, chest high snap, deep in the pocket. Mayfield bouncing around the pocket, throws, and it's picked off at the 30. Picked off by Carolina. Panthers football. Lathan Ransom, the rookie, comes up with one of the biggest plays of the season, a diving interception. 42 seconds remain.
Great call there by Anise Strofe on WRFX. Luke Kuechly's in the booth there somewhere.
There you go.
But I don't think I heard
Somewhere.
him. 23-20. The Panthers win it again late. I got to say, this NFL product, they got something here. It's good stuff. It's good stuff this week.
Yeah, it's hitting. It's hitting.
How about Baker Mayfield? Not hit.
Baker Ball has gotten sad.
Okay.
It was Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans who were not on the same page at the very end of this game, under 2 minutes, driving, trying to make yet another one of his improbable comebacks, trying to go for an 18th game-winning drive, specifically under 2 minutes. And the irony is, for most of the first half, I was lamenting how the Panthers needed more out of their receivers. Teteroa McMillan was getting bodied around by rookie cornerbacks, snap after snap, a lot of contact there. I don't want to hear it, Panthers fans. I will admit there was a lot of contact there. Xavier Legette had a drop and bad sideline awareness at one point. And then right before the half, they all came to life in the coolest way. And it was Bryce freaking Young leading them on a drive where he starts really using his legs either on scramble drill throws or carries. Bryce Young gets a ball to Teteroa McMillan that was probably a degree of 10 difficulty to corral and hold on to because of the contact, the difficulty of the catch, and also just the position that his body was in and going to the ground. It's an immediate vibe shift. Every receiver steps up the rest of the game. And a couple of plays later, Bryce Young on the scramble drill, avoids pressure, gets a touchdown pass to a wide open Jatavian Sanders, and we've got the sound.
Buccaneers have not blitzed much today. Here's the snap, pressure off the edge. Bryce dancing in the pocket. Trying to evade a sack. He does. Throws back in the end zone. Wide open. Touchdown, Carolina. JT Sanders all alone. And that play happened because Bryce was nimble. Bryce, be quick. And he finds a wide open JT Sanders for a touchdown. The Panthers back on top with 8 seconds to go here in the third.
Such a cool play. And you guys, let me tell you this, because I know the box score will tell you where this game flipped on the field. But this moment I'm about to describe to you is when the tide turned for not only these Carolina Panthers and their fans and what this organization has been, but what it will be. Because later in the fourth quarter, this game was tied 20-20. And the Panthers defense steps up. Nick Scorton blows into the backfield to make a run stop for a loss, sets up a long third down that eventually fails. And the time between those two plays, the broadcast booth was quiet and they let the crowd do their thing. And that Carolina crowd was absolutely electric for the first time in a December game that had meaning to it, you guys. And as long as I can remember, and what a beautiful thing. And there was no way, after Nick Scorton made that play, there was no way this Panthers team was losing that football game.
It's incredible. They have the vibes. They have the players too. Look, I don't think that wide receiver wins is a thing, but I do think that Teteroa McMillan having a good game today, 6 for 73 and a touchdown in a game where Ibuka only had 2 targets, 1 long catch by him that looked like a key play in that game is a nice check on his side. And the Bucs, who have had so many injuries all season, being a little healthier right now in a game where the Panthers don't have their left tackle, and that was a huge factor in this game. Yaya Diaby had 9 pressures, 4 quick pressures, almost all of them against the replacement at left tackle, and the Panthers are able to get over that. And even the rushing numbers, like, they don't look amazing, but the success rate was better today overall. And ultimately, their defense holds Baker Mayfield to 127 yards net passing. And I don't think there's one answer for why the Bucs aren't the Bucs, but they're not the Bucs, and they have to be so thrilled that the Saints won that game last week against Carolina, or else this division would literally be over. But there's still a very real chance that the division will be up for grabs if the Bucs can win next week, and that, you know, in Week 18, that this was just kind of a precursor.
Well, we saw Baker Mayfield again, like in the intermediate areas. He was 1 of 5, 13 yards with a pick, where, you know, around the line of scrimmage, working the screens to both White as well as Bucky Irving, who had a nice game on the ground. In fact, both of them did. Rashad White had a big carry in this game. He hits the deep completion to Emeka Egbuka. But other than that, like, the intermediate operation for this Bucs passing game just seems to disappear for large stretches of the game, where the Panthers finally started moving the ball. And even when they did, you know, the Bucs, Baker had a big run on the drive where he throws the interception to Mike Evans. It was him operating in the pocket and trying to escape, where he flashes like he's going to escape to his right. So that's why Mike Evans turned, but that's right when Baker Mayfield threw the ball to where Mike Evans was going to be.
Yeah.
And it gets picked off, where it's like they have to manufacture things in a scramble drill. And that's really the Bucs offense late.
Yeah.
To your point, there was not a single completion over 13 yards other than that Egbuka play.
No, and they're not getting enough of the things that usually, like, lift up the like meat and potatoes, or like the skeleton of their passing game, which is A, not making dumb mistakes at the line of scrimmage, and B, they're not getting enough out of their tight end position right now. And to the point where some of the plays that are the most successful have been when, like, Kate Otten is like a decoy on some of these plays, or when he's reassigning leverage versus being an actual threat. And so some of these self-inflicted mistakes, like, over and over and over again, set the Bucs back. They're disjointed. It's why they don't look like the Bucs. It was, snap issues before the Panthers' last scoring drive of the half on back-to-back plays. Gadecki false starts on a promising drive, and that's his second false start after a really great kickoff return to open the fourth quarter. The drive stalls out. Gadecki was called again for a hold, which set up a long first down on a drive in the fourth quarter with the game tied 20-all. And after the Panthers went ahead 3 points, the Bucs then lost 10 yards of field position on the touchback for another penalty, a bad personal foul penalty on special teams. So it's like self-inflicted wounds are also what's part of the problem for this group.
Shout out to the Panthers, anyone that's working for I mean, it's been a tough road here, and they've had a great social team forever. I liked what they're doing with the game picks. If you're watching, you can see that. And I don't even really remember why I asked for this, so I'm going to have to see it. Giving a little love in terms of Bryce Young and Tedoroa McMillan, saluting all the good picks from the NFL, including our very own Nick Shook. So that's why I
love it.
I like that.
I know a lot of people over there still, guys, and I can't even tell you how happy I am that the energy feels like this right now, because when it's not good in a building on the field, you feel it everywhere else in the organization. And there's a lot of really good people over there in every corner of that building. And it's like you could feel just this crowd, this great bunch of Panthers fans in that outdoor stadium, and it's cold and it's football weather and the skyline is in the horizon. And it's just like some of the magic is starting to creep back into the atmosphere. And I think that's wonderful.
They host the Seahawks next week. If they win that game, they will be the division champions. But that's a tough game to win. The Buccaneers, who are just in a free fall, can't be counted on to win any game. They are in Miami next week. But if the Buccaneers were to win in Miami and the Panthers lost, then the Week 18 game is for the NFC South title. So the Panthers can easily fall right back out of the division lead. Speaking of division leads, let's go to the NFC East, where the Eagles were trying to do something for the first time in over 2 decades.
Hurts in the gun again. Hurts looks, gives it off.
It is Barkley spinning forward, down across the 5, and he is in for the touchdown. He takes it in.
Not to be denied. Not to be denied. A 12-yard run by Saquon Barkley.
It was kind of nice just seeing Saquon Barkley doing Saquon Barkley things again, like breaking tackles.
Yeah.
You were on the rush yards over expected beat, Patrick. Yeah. He went over 40 plus 40 in this game because there was another big run later where he broke some tackles. Eagles win 29-18. And if you've been paying close attention at home, you'll notice we've gone NFC playoff picture here all in a row. So don't be mad, Jaguars fans. We're not disrespecting you that you're in the second block.
Oh,
We're going.
why don't you get back to me on that?
Yeah.
It's my turn to talk.
We're on NFC watch first. And the Eagles sewed up an NFC East title. And yeah, that was the first time a team has done that, winning back-to-back titles in 21 years. So for as weird as this season has been, Patrick, it was nice to see something so familiar. And to me, that was Saquon running well, Hurts scrambling, and the Eagles kind of saying, oh, yeah, you thought all that under center stuff was cool. How about we just win the way that we've been winning for a while and spread you out and just pick on the mismatches and let Jalen Hurts do what he wants to do? It worked pretty well in this game.
Yeah, you had a chance to see the Eagles inspired. Tank Bigsby had big runs in the second half where Landon Dickerson was running down the field and celebrated with him. He's had his health problems this season where the run game looks like it's back in shape. A.J. Brown doing what he does and just bullying the Washington Commanders franchise, where I felt like Emmanuel Forbes was getting justice because the Commanders could do nothing with A.J. Brown in that game. Devonta Smith gets a touchdown. All the Eagles things hit. And for the Commanders, Marcus Mariota gets hurt. They get multiple quarterbacks with elbow injuries. Josh Johnson, glad to see him back playing. I hate the circumstance.
Yeah.
Didn't necessarily play well, which is
Still
tough to
going.
do against this defense.
Yeah, didn't play great. And you mentioned all the Eagles things happening. That includes only playing great for one half and A.J. Brown just being a weird presence because he had more targets in the first half than any half of his entire career, and he went 9 for 95 with those targets. He didn't get another target the rest of the game, but then they did the one half good, one half bad, and it was without A.J. Brown, the good half, and they were trailing in this game 10-7, and they didn't even take a lead till like late in the third. So it wasn't like a dominating performance, but it was an Eagles performance. 17-play drive in the third quarter is what kind of did it.
Sometimes I have intrusive thoughts, and this one is with the meme of the crowd of people standing in the room and the one guy standing in the corner, and there's a thought bubble over his head that's like, they don't know I'm about to. This one is A.J. Brown standing in the corner of the room of crowded people in the first half of this game and thinking, they don't know I'm about to bully the Washington Commanders franchise. Like, it is true. And you know what's crazy to me about the Eagles, and it's uncanny, you could almost predict it like the tides and the moon, is they will do the thing that everybody is shouting at them to do for one game and then be like, there, you got it.
They did it for a couple games, but you're right. You're right.
But then they come right back to it. They look like they always have looked when people are mad. They win this time, which is great, but like they do the same thing they always do.
And I couldn't hate it. Our friend Zach Bourbon pointed out, they had more empty formation plays on their first touchdown drive than any drive all season long. So yes, the complete opposite of all those under center plays. But they were moving the ball all game here, and they were getting bogged down and missed. Jake Elliott is a problem right now. They missed a couple field goals. And so that they were playing better in the first half than the score indicated. But yeah, it was a lot. They are consistent. They are also awesome in the red zone, 3 for 3. Like every week they are awesome in the red zone in large part because of Jalen Hurts and not because of the tush push. The tush push is kind of dying right now. It's been an unsuccessful play now for more than a month. They had 2 false starts. It was a bit of a problem in this game, the tush push. And so that's an interesting thing to watch. Jordan Davis was maybe the best defensive player on the field, having just like a monster game. 2 tackles for loss, a couple hurries, 6 total run stops. He has more games with at least 4 run stops than any player in the NFL this year. And Brandon Graham, like he's heating up, another sack.
BG's back, working his way back healthy after coming off the couch.
Also, one last thing in this game. Dan Quinn did not cover himself in glory. He punted the ball on 4th and 4 from his own 40+, down 11 points with under 7 minutes to go, which was one of the most insane, gutless punts I've ever seen. And Saquon punished them with a big run afterwards, and they scored almost immediately. Like an insane punt. And to do that, and then after the game to have the gall to say this, I don't get it.
It's their choice to go for 2 there,
right
and
on.
It's your job to stop them. But is there an unspoken respect between coaches, teams, where in a game in that situation you don't do that? And kind of, did you feel like it was a little bit of a sign of disrespect?
Yeah, I can only answer from my side what I would do. But hey, man, like that's how they want to get down. Then like all good. We play them again in 2 weeks.
Oh, brother, come on. Apparently, yeah, some of the Commanders players weren't happy, and
Well, they got a brawl. At
big old ball, brawl. They were just going for 2 because that's what the math says, and they're just trying to make sure they're trying to win the game.
In football,
Relax.
you score points. to win
Exactly.
games.
Yeah, exactly.
I hear this.
But after that punt, it was sad. An injury to keep an eye on. Nakobe Dean went out in this game. We'll see how serious that is. But we've already heard that Jalen Carter and Lane Johnson are expected to return after their little mini bye, 1 extra day. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be back to talk AFC. Was that fast enough, Eric? Did I do well, Dad? Sorry.
Dropping, looking, throws another back for SETN. Tries to make him a miss, does to the 5. Got to the goal line, touchdown! 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 A 10-yard touchdown pass to Travis Etienne. The Jags have extended the lead. How good is that?
It's really good.
Pretty good.
The Jaguars are really good. They put 34 on the Broncos in Denver. 34-20. That's Frank Frangie. That's Trevor Lawrence as part of his month-long out-of-body experience. Jourdan, they stopped Bo Nix from being fourth quarter Bo Nix, and they cruised for a statement victory. The Jaguars have arrived.
They've been arrived, Greg. They've been arrived. It felt like a playoff game at Mile High. It was so loud that early in the game, players could not hear the whistle to whistle a play dead, and they played through the whistle. Trevor Lawrence got creamed. It was a good, clean hit, but he got creamed, and there was it was loud. Cameras were shaking, insane. And we found out what happened, as we wondered, when an unstoppable force, this Trevor Lawrence-essence, Jaguars offense meets an immovable object, the league-leading Broncos red zone defense. And Trevor and the Jags won, especially in that phase, hugely in that phase, because the Jags went 4 for 4 of touchdowns in the red zone before finally getting held to a field goal there early in the fourth quarter. At that time, they were already up 34-17, and still there was a worry that they could not salt this game away because the entire game they could not run the ball. And Travis Etienne was great in the pass game, but the Jaguars' non-quarterback run game had about a 13% success rate through this entire game. And I say non-quarterback, you guys, because it was Trevor Lawrence who made the difference on the ground. He ran in a touchdown on a design run, scrambled to make throws, scrambled for this 3rd and 8 conversion that helped eat enough clock to make this all but impossible for the Broncos to overcome.
3rd and 8, Jags from their own 32. Trevor drops. It's a blitz. He scrambles to his left, still looking downfield, still looking. Now Trevor wants to run for it, stays in bounds, drives for the first down. I think he got it. Let me see what they mark it.
I love that
yes,
dive.
He did. Trevor Lawrence made a first down as a runner yet again. How many third downs has he converted as a runner? 10 yards and a first down.
Yeah, no sliding. And also, you guys, in 8 games since the Rams game in London in Week 7 when the Jaguars only scored 7 points, the Jacksonville Jaguars are averaging 33 points per game.
It is incredible, and I think him running has been a huge key to all of it. You mentioned the red zone, touchdown today, but he has been just playmaking in a free way, on the ground running and design runs that we just haven't seen. And it's interesting because, you mentioned the red zone stuff. You look at 34 points and you think they dominated, and they were great when they were great, but they had 4 3-and-outs today. They finished with 3 straight punts, including 2 that weren't even, this 1 first down and a punt. So this was a complete team effort, and I think you got to start looking at the Jaguars that way. not that they're quite at the level of like the Rams, but in a way that I think any one of their groups, including special teams, can step up in a given week. And lately it's been all three making plays in a given week.
I think a big part of what separates the Jags at this point is the technical skill of the players, especially like you look at ETN in the past game. Britton Strange had a couple of tight window catches. Jacoby Myers making big plays with the ball in the air. Parker Washington doing all he can do, like not just making explosive plays after the catch, but had some big-time tight window catches as well, where they've just got so many guys that are so good at getting the ball in their hands, good when they have the ball in their hands, where it makes this offense go to a point where, yeah, it's them, the Rams, when they're healthy, like that particular ability that we see on like a team with the Dallas Cowboys, but also they have a defense that can make plays and get stops on a Broncos team that was going up and down the field against a good Packers defense last week.
And they did. And early in the game, it looked like Bo Nix was going to have one of those games, like similar to what he had last week. He and Courtland Sutton were on fire together. Courtland Sutton made an incredible sideline catch, a toe tap, and then caught like a heavily contested ball just a couple of plays later. It was one of those where if the Jaguars didn't nip it in the bud immediately, it might have gone back and forth all game. It ultimately stalled out, and the Jaguars, part of what they did very well is smother the Broncos with explosive plays. And it was startling in some ways to see against this offense, but just as effective as a cheat code as like the play action pass game can be, especially against a fierce pass rush, because the Broncos did get pressure on Trevor Lawrence, but just as effective as like a really long developing, which they love to run those long developing boot play actions, also as effective as Trevor Lawrence becoming like one of the best in the league at throwing while on the run. And this is fascinating because his receivers have this edge to them now that we didn't see early in the season. These guys are so impressive to a T, stepping up and making plays for him. Parker Washington had a dazzling game, and he has been a dude for weeks. And today he went six catches on 10 targets, 145 yards and a touchdown, was a factor in the kicking game, in the return game as well. And I really wish there was a stat for receivers. It wasn't just focused on touchdowns or fantasy points or whatever, but setups. Because Parker Washington is becoming the best scoring setup guy in the entire league right now, where he's getting the big explosive play that puts the offense in scoring position. 10 points off of that just for him today on 2 plays.
And look, these two defenses approach things differently. The Jaguars are going to change what they do from a week-to-week basis, but they're not a heavy blitz team in general, and they barely blitzed at all today. And I think from what I saw, it just makes the picture a little more muddy on Bo Nix, where I know he didn't have a great second half. He threw a couple passes that could have been picked off, and he did have one interception, right? And but he also threw for 352 and had a number of like really good throws and a number of just like near misses. But that is the difference, and it is the risk for Denver, who blitzes so much. They blitz 41% of the time today, and the Jaguars got enough pressure without having to do that, barely sending any blitzes. And you saw on the back end of Denver that sometimes the linebackers, sometimes it's like PJ Locke as the safety, or Jahdae Barron had a big pass interference, or some of those linebackers in coverage, and they were either missing tackles or giving up completions, whereas the Jaguars are a little more buttoned up in the back end. I know they had an injury to Jourdan Lewis, which is something to keep an eye on.
Jourdan Lewis spells his name the best. Also, one thing that I want to credit the Broncos for on offense, even though they ended up losing this game, was they've really found something between Bo Nix and RJ Harvey specifically. It's a couple of skill guys here. Courtland Sutton obviously is one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL, I think, especially this year. But then also, RJ Harvey is one of those sort of joker type players that Sean Payton just loves to have. And he's been this way for almost this entire season. He's ascended into this player, but he's a threat in the run game. He makes people miss tackles. He's especially a threat how he was today in the short pass or screen game, yards after catch plays. That was where he was a total weapon.
So great news for the Jaguars, who maintain that lead in the AFC South. And right now, if they and the Texans tie at the top, the Texans are going to win that tiebreaker. So it's important. This is a game they maybe weren't expected to win. The Broncos, on the other hand, at 12-3, There's no good losses, but they had just won, 11 straight games?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this wasn't that harmful. They are still the favorite by a decent amount compared to every other team to be the 1 seed. They have the Chiefs. We'll talk about them later on Christmas, but everything is still in front of the Broncos. They lose a little bit of wiggle room of maybe you won't be able to clinch before Week 18, but they still are in control of their own destiny. Despite that, Sean Payton was all messed up after the game.
They were better on third downs. They won the turnover battle. They won the kicking battle. And so now we have a short week to digest it. You can't spit it out. You got to swallow it.
Whew.
Hey-o.
He said it.
All right.
He said it. Not me. Let's go to Dallas.
That's in bunch formation to the right. Herbert to throw. Taking a shot. There's McConkey. Caught. Touchdown. Chargers. Lad McConkey, 6th touchdown reception of the season. Justin Herbert's 2nd of the day. 25th of the year. This one, 25 yards.
Matt Money Smith just watching Justin Herbert go up and down the field with ease. That was in the first half. Chargers keep rolling 34-17 over the Dallas Cowboys. Money's on KFI, by the way. Look, this was a great game if you like quarterback play. Dak Prescott played exceptionally well. Despite them only putting up 17 points in this game, there was not a punt until midway through the third quarter of this game. But it's what I like about this Chargers team is that, yeah, they can get in the ugly games like they did the last couple of weeks. But when presented with an opportunity against this Matt Eberflus defense, which was very static in the first half of this game, especially, they can also dice you up because they are very talented at the skill position. And it was glorious, Patrick, to watch Justin Herbert with time. Like, wow, with just like a normal offensive line performance. And because he's trying to make big plays, it still was a 40% pressure rate. But their offensive line, despite losing their left tackle pretty early, Jamari Sawyer, which is a concern against better defenses, they played well enough, and it was a lot of him stepping up in the pocket and just dropping dimes all over the field.
And when you see Justin Herbert with that opportunity, the space, not just for him, but for the receivers in the pass game to get away from each other and from defenders as plays develop, because we had some concerns with them getting loose in the past couple of games against considerably better defenses. It's going to make it work. Quentin Johnston was looking like early season. Quentin Johnston had a great one-hand catch. Lad McConkey, they flood the zone in the first half, and there's Trayvon Diggs and a whole lot of space over there for an easy Lad touchdown. Where the Cowboys, like all year, it's like the pressure to score every time, and then eventually there's a 4th and 10 in the fourth quarter where they go for it, and I guess Dak's like, all right. I don't know if it was Shotty's decision or Dak's decision. Like, there's no need for me to play any more football. Granted, Harbaugh has Justin Herbert with one good hand out there.
Oh, my God.
Late in the game. Like, I don't know, Coach.
The differences were striking. Yeah, they took Dak out with about 5 minutes left, a little under, and down 17. It's fine. You're not going to come back there 3 scores under 5 minutes. But I don't think many coaches would take out their quarterback there. Whereas on the other side, Herbert, who was running so well in this game, he had a huge run in general, like his legs were massive. Right after he landed on his left hand and was clearly hurting on a long run, they call for a quarterback sneak like the next play, and then he had another run where they called for it, and they're just like
we get it. The dude is tough. You don't need to make him prove it to you every week. Holy shit.
And then but he does prove it to him. He goes over 300 yards.
It's like a toxic relationship.
It was just nice to see them. And here's how good these two quarterbacks were under pressure in this game. I had a feeling too, because I was like, it wasn't all bad defense. Combined, they were 17 for 20 under pressure in this game with about 9 yards per attempt. Like, Dak almost played like a perfect game. The reason it bogged down in the second half, you mentioned that 4th and 10, one of the few plays where the Chargers got quick pressure. And then there was a 4th and 1 where they give it to the fullback Lipke and he gets stuffed. And it was one of those where you had to score every drive. You said it. There was only like 8 drives in this game for each team. It was not a lot of possessions because the offenses were so good, especially but before halftime. And this Chargers team, 11 wins, like
No
for this
style
team,
points, and I love it.
I hate that they lost Jamari Sawyer in this game because I think he was a big upgrade at left tackle. So we'll see, like for instance, in that Week 18 game, which now looks more likely to decide the AFC West and potentially the 1 seed. But the Chargers do have a big one against Houston next week, so that's a tough matchup if they are again down to their like 5th left tackle.
Yeah, I will be there covering that game for The Athletic. I'm very excited, and because this is going to be another who can out tough each other. It's the Houston Texans defense and the Chargers offense. This was actually a near record-setting Justin Herbert game in some facets. Per Next Gen, he had the 2nd most EPA generated through the game of any quarterback this season, also 2nd most in his career. And under pressure, he was 9 for 11 for 108 yards and a touchdown. So bring whatever hell and fury you have. He is tough enough.
That makes sense because EPA per play is, it's a rate stat.
They're gonna freaking hate me.
The 2nd best game by a quarterback, because I wrote perfect game. I was like, what could be better?
The 2nd most EPA generated through a game of any quarterback this season.
And it's really cool for them how Trey Harris is developing. He went 4 for 54. They are very even in terms of targets. You said early that he's got some stuff to him, Trey Harris. And even Keandre Lambert-Smith, who's not out there a ton, he's made a really important play in each of the last 3 games. And there was a 3rd and 10 where it was like, okay, that's actually bad defense. It's not just good offense, where they just kind of had a give-up throw to Lambert-Smith, and he breaks a couple tackles to pick up the first down. And later that drive, that's where Herbert hits one of his beautiful touchdown throws. And so, yeah, Trevon Diggs struggled in this one. He also revealed afterwards, remember he had a concussion out of nowhere? He said it was from a light that he set up in his own house because he was trying to be Mr. Handyman, that he was sitting at home later, and the light fell from the ceiling.
That's my worst nightmare.
And hit him.
That's my worst nightmare of being, for example, of being asleep and you've got art or something hanging over your bed, and the reason you wake up, or hopefully you wake up, is because it's landed on you. That's what I have vivid nightmares about this.
We've all been there. You're leaning up against a step stool, or you're on a wobbly ladder, full extension, screw the light fixture in, and you're like, is that good? I think it's good.
I haven't been there.
I don't want to be up here anymore.
I haven't been there. Team rent or team let your wife do all the handiwork. But, dude, hire a TaskRabbit, Diggs. You got the money. Ridiculous. Dante Jackson and Sawyer and Kamani Vidal all got hurt in this game, and all of them will be worth watching during the week. They all potentially were serious, but it's hard to tell, obviously, at first watch. Let's move on. Let's go to the Bills and the Browns, with the Chargers, taking care of business. Like those AFC wildcard slots are starting to fill out. Bills still looking to try to win the division, but at least trying to clinch a playoff spot.
To the right side of the formation, here's the snap. Hand off to Cook. Cuts it back through a hole, and he's off, and cuts it back again into the secondary. 25-20, cuts it near side. 10-5, James Cook is in the kitchen. What a run by Cook, 44 yards to the end zone.
James Cook. Maybe the fantasy pick of the year. I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba's got to be up close, but man, James Cook, if you took him in like the 2nd or 3rd round, he is bringing you home, and he is bringing this Buffalo Bills team home. And by that, I mean the playoffs. While all the other big-time quarterbacks are struggling here, the Bills are winning a lot of games, and they're doing it by controlling the ground game. Patrick, on a day Josh Allen didn't have a ton of passing yards, they still hang on to win 23-20 against a game Browns outfit.
Yes, in a game where Josh Allen and the Bills had to come from behind. They started that game with a touchdown pass to Harold Fannin Jr., made a nice move, navigating traffic, has to make a move on Bosa in the backfield to actually get open for Shedeur Sanders for the touchdown reception. And the Browns, no calamitous errors on special teams. They play relatively solid defense other than this rush defense, which has been a problem down the stretch for Cleveland, in the middle parts of the season, through weeks 5 through 12. The Browns, a stout run defense. You could not run the ball in the Cleveland Browns. James Cook had 7 yards a carry in this game, including that big 44-yarder that we just heard there or saw. Shout out to the folks watching on YouTube, where, over and over again, the Browns continued to make this a game. And then late in this game, the Bills pass rush really dominant in taking over. Shedeur Sanders had to took 2 sacks ultimately before what looked like was initially a safety, called a safety on the field. Turns out he threw the ball at the 1 yard line. So it's, they had just gotten the ball back from the Buffalo Bills as Sean McDermott decided to eschew a 6-point lead in favor of going for a touchdown that would instead of going for a field goal that would have made it a 6-point game. They try to end it right there. Give Cleveland a little bit of hope, but the pass rush shuts it down, and the Browns fall once again. Also lose Quinshon Judkins for the season. He's got torn ligaments in his ankle as well as a broken leg, and a rough one for a guy who had a promising rookie season after starting late.
I hate that so much. I've talked about how much I really am impressed by him, and that's a tough recovery. You hate to see that. Yeah, that 4th down play with Dawson Knox looks like he should have had it, but the sun is in his eyes. That would have put them up 10. But you give credit to the Bills defense, for at least shutting the door enough. Greg Rousseau had 9 pressures in this game, and they matched really the Browns pass rush, maybe even better. The Browns only had 1 quick pass rush or quick pressure the entire game. The Bills had 5, and Myles Garrett had half a sack, Jordan, on a play we were really enjoying watching all the replays of throughout the day.
Yeah, it was a Mason Graham party foul. A little bit. We're watching it right here on the screen. So Josh Allen scrambling, and he technically gets sacked. It's okay. Who is going to touch him first? And it happened to be Mason Graham.
Yes.
Josh Allen kind of goes to the ground autonomously here, or trips, or I just think he doesn't want I don't think he wants to be in.
I think he got hurt on the play. He had a foot injury after that play.
An X-ray after that play.
And I don't think he wanted to be. He talked about it this week. I don't think he really had wanted to be in the history books here. But it was okay. He's on the ground. Whoever touches the quarterback first gets credit for the sack. And instead of having, Myles Garrett reach out and just boop, Mason Graham touched him down. And so Mason Graham gets credit so he's still half a sack away.
Yes. And eventually the scorer decided, since Garrett kind of forced Allen down, that he gets half the sack, and Graham.
But you can't break it on a lame ass play
so
like
I'm
that.
I'm glad it happened that way. That was very rookie year, Josh Allen, by the way. Just like, what are you doing, bro? That's one of the worst plays anyone made all year.
Well, I think if it's not 95 there, Josh Allen might continue towards the sideline, but he turns around and sees that it's Myles Garrett.
Yes.
And in defense of the scorekeeper, I understand, because Josh Allen continues in that direction with 99% of defensive players.
Fair.
He sees Myles Garrett, and he's like, oh, whatever's going on behind me, which I'm not looking at, is better than what I'm seeing in front of me.
Don't be the record.
Yeah, I like, actually, because now he's, half a sack away from tying, but a full clean sack away from winning. So I'm thinking, I want this Andrew Siciliano record-breaking sack call
against Aaron Rodgers.
Like air. Oh, that's good. I want it in the 16th game, and I don't want it to be a tie, and then maybe he breaks it with a half a sack, or it's the tie and then the break. Now it's going to be clean if it actually happens. Let's see if Myles Garrett can get it done. I don't know what to think about the Bills sometimes this season.
I can tell you what it was.
Yes.
Statistically speaking, it was when Sean McDermott stopped wearing glasses.
Okay. I mean,
Greg became 3 times the podcaster he already was when he started wearing the glasses, and he was already pretty good. You've taken your game to elite levels wearing the glass. Sean McDermott just had to take off the glass. It's statistic. They're tracking stats.
The only reason I started wearing my glasses because I had a hole burned in my eye from my contact lens, but I'm going back to the contacts soon. The Bills have won 11 games, and they are plus 90 scoring differential on the season, which is, very good and better than some other Bills teams. So, yeah, it doesn't look great in terms of the passing game, but they are still a very good team and right in the mix, still in the AFC East. We mentioned the Jaguars earlier, winning early in the late window. The Texans had what we thought was going to be a layup to keep pace in the AFC South.
Split backs for CJ, 3rd and 8 at the Raider 37. Here's the snap. Here's the blitz. Stroud fires downfield to his left and caught along the sideline. Nico Collins, the dagger at the 13-yard line. Ball game.
Oh, I love a dagger from Mark Vandermeer. KILT. CJ Stroud and Nico Collins were struggling for much of the game. But when they needed a drive late, they got a little help from a pass interference call.
It wasn't as bad as Greg is making it sound.
No, I actually think it was good veteran offensive play by Nico Collins, who drew 2 key pass interferences late in this game, where he made the officials make a call on a ball that I did not think was catchable, and I didn't really think it was pass interference, but from the angle the official was at, it's tough to tell who started the contact.
They just ran into each other's arms.
Exactly. The Texans hold on to beat the Raiders 23-21 in a game where they get a pick 6 out of their defense. So that means the Texans offense was kind of back in scary land, and we're struggling really all day until those last few drives against the Raiders.
Yeah, and what a gorgeous, body contorting interception it was from my favorite defense in the NFL. And Derek Stingley returned it like it was just like slicing a knife through a stick of butter, honestly. And it was the Texans were back in a big way offensively to 2 years ago through last week, and now have reverted back to what we've seen a lot of their sort of start-stop, failure to sustain, can't, piece together, put together these drives that they've started to find success from against other teams. And certainly you thought against the Raiders, the Tri-Stuff against team, you thought that it would go a little bit differently. They got the win. Which
maybe they were, and it was these long yardage situations because the run game was just awful. 17% design success rate. They missed having Woody Marks, although I like Jourdan Jordan. I think
he's great.
He's a good player. Nick Chubb had a big run in this game, but for the most part, it was a lot of stuffs near the line of scrimmage. And C.J. Stroud, I love watching C.J. Stroud, and when he's on and in rhythm, he's incredible. Sometimes he is off, and sometimes when he's off, he's really off, and you could almost see him in his head. I think he started this game 3 for 9, and some of them were just open throws that he was missing, and they were struggling to complete balls on the linebackers of the Raiders, which no one does. There was a 2-play sequence where Jamal Adams had maybe the hit stick of the year. It reminded me of a jacked up play from the 90s. And then Max Crosby had a 4-yard tackle for loss. And they were going absolutely nuts on the sideline. This is why it's good to have someone assigned to each game, because there was a moment where Pete Carroll comes over and they're only winning 14-13. And Pete Carroll is over trying to get everyone into it. And Elandon Roberts sees Pete getting into it. And Elandon Roberts loves that energy. And he gives Pete a very aggressive slap on the ass there. And I love that.
Knocks him
They're
forward.
all stunting on the sideline. The score was 14-13 mid-third quarters. And they're celebrating like they won the Super Bowl.
I thought that Pete Carroll.
It was their Super Bowl.
It was their first lead since week 11, since mid-November.
I thought Pete Carroll was just going to go into it.
Nah. He works out, man.
A burst of dust.
He works out.
At that point, it was a very aggressive butt slap.
It wasn't the best Texans game either. They're not on defense. They're not quite the same without Azeez Al-Shaair, and they did give up some big plays. Let's give some love to Ashton Genty, who goes for 128 yards on the ground, adds a 60-yard touchdown through the air. So if you stuck with him this whole season and you drafted him early and the rest of your team was good enough to make it this far, then you were big time rewarded in week 16.
The defensive backs coaches done a great job with helping him convert and make him a playmaker from the nickel spot.
3rd and 6. Genty down the field. He's open. He's got it at the 30. Genty, stiff arm, stays on his feet. Touchdown! What a play by the rookie. Ashton Genty, a 60-yard touchdown.
That
and
celebration.
We're tied at 13.
I need it. I love it. I don't need it. Great job. Man, I enjoyed seeing Gino throw a couple times in this game. A bad pick 6, but after that, played quite well in this game. Texans got to play better next week in this matchup against the Chargers. All right, let's take a break. We've set it up. NFC playoff picture. AFC playoff picture. And now we got the rest. And then a big-time Sunday night football game. Don't go anywhere. And I'm talking to not just the listeners, but Jordan and Patrick. You got more games to go.
3rd down and 6. The Bengals have it at the 17 of Miami. Burrow catches a shotgun snap, 3-step drop, throws. Gesicki at the goal line, leaps and hauls it in for the touchdown. Mike Gesicki doing the gritty as the Bengals have scored 44 points.
Unbelievable.
shout out to Mike Gesicki, who's had a strange career, but is at the point where he can have callbacks to bad touchdown celebrations in Miami where it first happened. He gets it done, and the Bengals get a 40 burger.
Ugh.
That was part of 4 touchdown passes from Joe Burrow. They win 45-21 over the Dolphins. And Jourdan, I know that was during a succession of points just being rained down upon Miami.
Yeah, you almost kept thinking, oh, Miami can't turn it over again, can they? And then they did. This game went to halftime 17-14 with the Bengals up. Quinn Ewers, who is the quarterback for the Dolphins in this game, was actually having a decent game to that point. He put together a really nice drive in the second quarter. Joe Burrow was starting to heat up too into like sort of magical status. And so we were about to potentially start getting our hopes up that this could be a fun shootout points game. But in the third quarter, the Dolphins turned it over 4 consecutive times. Again, in the third quarter alone, the Dolphins turned it over 4 consecutive times. First, Miami tight end Greg Dulcich fumbled. Cincinnati scored off the recovery. Second, Quinn Ewers scored a couple plays after the recovery. Second, Quinn Ewers was intercepted on a tipped pass. Thought the pass was fine. Just a really great play made by the defender. And then they scored. Third, turnover on downs. Set up an absolutely incredible Jamar Chase in double coverage, and then the Bengals scored another touchdown. Fourth, an interception by Jalen Davis. Mike Gesicki's touchdown, which you just listened to on the drive, that continued into the fourth quarter. And they were up 45-14 early in the fourth. I have nothing more to say about this.
Oh, wow. I will then. Shout out to...
I do, but my God, I wrote, woo, man, in my notes.
Yeah,
it was a lot.
That's about it. And you can't blame Ewers for most of that. Look, their defense had been playing pretty well until they gave up 4 straight touchdowns to Aaron Rodgers. And then they had this game, and it's just not looking great for what's going on in Miami. But I think it's great that T. Higgins... a very classic T. Higgins game that you look and it's just 3 for 53 in 1 touchdown. You're like, oh, that's not amazing. And yet, like the 35-yarder, he's just better than anyone in the NFL at mossing people and jumping. And then the touchdown was a great catch by him too. So it was how this team was supposed to look. It's like, hey, can you pay way too much money for Gesicki to come back? Oh, sure, okay. And then Gesicki, Chase Brown, Higgins. Chase, like this is the vision of the fantasy Bengals.
Chase Brown had a rushing touchdown and 2 receiving touchdowns. I mean, he went off this game.
Been great.
Yeah, and you see like fully coming to fruition, as Greg pointed out.
Just in time, right?
Yeah,
right?
For the end of the season, but at least time for Joe Burrow to have some fun. We also saw like Jamar Chase streaking wide open for what would have been a touchdown. Burrow with a nasty underthrow, but because it's Jamar Chase and it's the 2025 Dolphins, stops, comes back, and goes up and over 2 defenders where you really see like the difference in the skill position guys, where it's a lot like the Dallas Cowboys, where they have that difference in the skill position guys on offense, but the rest of the team is so bad where they're not relevant.
It comes on a day where Ian Rappaport could help to confirm what seems obvious, which is that Zach Taylor does not seem like he's in any trouble. 2 years to go, but wins like this make it him rest even easier. They are 5-10. The Dolphins fall to 6-9. The Bengals are still in the top 10 in terms of tankathon. They are at the 9th pick right now, so they could have a premium draft pick. And yes, on Joe Burrow watch, he did say after the game, I'm having fun playing football. This is what I came back for. I was not having fun not playing football. So there is your Joe Burrow, is he happy section of the week. You know what he should be happy about, by the way, is Amarius Mims is turning into one of the better left tackles in the league. So that's been a nice development story for the Bengals. Let's go to New Orleans, where we're witnessing maybe the biggest development story of the end of this season at quarterback, at least.
Shucks in the shotgun, takes the snap, looks to his right for the end, and he's wide open. Chris, Olave, touchdown for Chris Olave. That's number 7 for him. It's also number 7 for Tyler Shuck. He now passes Archie Manning for the rookie quarterback touchdown pass record.
Hey, Mike Haas. We're hearing from him every week on WWL. Saints win 26-9. Patrick, it was close for a while, but you can only hold Tyler Shuck down for so long.
Yeah, they get field goals in a game where Tyler Shough threw the ball 49 times, and if not for some Jets ineptitude, that number's going up even considerably higher. We had Taysom Hill coming in. It was pretty much Coach Moore calling stuff, where that's the status of the Jets as they're in Raiders territory here. But 16 targets for Chris Olave, including that touchdown. He had another one, had 148 yards through the air. Juwan Johnson had 8 catches for 89 yards. And this Saints team didn't really do a whole lot on the ground, able to just kind of will it out and wait for the Jets to fall apart, which the Jets did, as they have all season.
So everyone's kind of sick of Taysom Hill, and we've had moments of
for
that
years now.
Here, no, it depends. I had a journey. Was sick of him for a while, then started to truly appreciate him, and now I'm a little back to sick of him.
Yeah, I'm good.
But I mean, it is kind of incredible. Their leading rusher today with 42 yards by a good amount, and he catches 4 passes for 36 yards. They're just doing stuff. And if this is the final couple games for Taysom Hill in a Saints uniform or in the NFL, and I think it might be, it is pretty cool to have a moment like this at home.
Taysom Hill is at quarterback. 3rd and 5, going for the end zone. Wide open, Chris Olave. Taysom Hill put a bow on that gift for Christmas. Taysom Hill, touchdown pass to Chris Olave.
First player in the Super Bowl era to have 1,000 yards receiving, 1,000 yards rushing, and 1,000 yards passing in his career. He literally is one of one. So, yes. Salute to
Taysom Hill.
Do you know
on the way out.
I'm so excited about, you guys?
Charlie Smith?
For next year, when we're basically going to get the FedEx package pamphlets that the Jacksonville Jaguars are using right now in their press conferences / everybody's using to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars, packaged up and gift wrapped and shipped off to New Orleans so that after every game we can hear the New Orleans Saints talking about how nobody is actually paying attention to them.
They're going to be that team.
And nobody saw them coming, and nobody's talking about them, and have all the national media and talking heads talk about how nobody's really talking about these guys, but expand your horizons. We're talking about them. Everybody's talking about these feisty teams that are on the rise, and the New Orleans Saints are one of those feisty teams on the rise. They've got a defense playing well. They've got a quarterback playing really well. They've got young pieces in every phase. They got an Irish kicker. You know, this is I'm marking it down. It's December 21st. People are talking about this.
Okay, yeah. If they say that next year, and good job by you. Veteran podcast move. She had a point that she wishes she had made back in the Jaguars game, and she found a way to jam it in here. I've done that a lot of times over the years, and it's always probably unnecessary, and yet it feels good. You got it in, and it was a good point. And now we can play that. Literally keep that for next year, assuming we're all around. Keep that for next year. And we'll play that when the Saints are winning some games. Yeah, their Irish kicker, Charlie Smith, was awesome. I mean, Tyler Shook had a dime that was actually Shook had a dime that was dropped by Olave. Cam Jordan got to 130 sacks for his career, passing Ricky Jackson of the Saints, who's in the Hall of Fame. 2 sacks today, up to 8.5 here.
And hit a couple of contract incentives that are going to get.
Oh, I was wondering because I knew he was excited to get a couple sacks, but the extra celebration was enormous.
Jonas Sanker, the Hive.
And
interception.
He had an interception. You know who hasn't had an interception this year?
Who's that?
The New York Jets.
Oh, bummer.
Isn't that crazy?
Quantez Stigger's got another fumble recovery, so they got that today.
461 passes the Jets have defended this year. 0 interceptions. They are 2 games away from setting a record that will stand for all of time. It could not be possibly beaten. It's never happened before. This is where I wish, and they could do it with extra games. It's kind of the flip side of the 7. They're really going to earn this if they do 17 games of no interceptions. And shout out to the fans there. I've been talking about how the atmosphere and stuff there is kind of the opposite. They are chanting "Who dat," going crazy. They are really into Tyler Shough. This is best case scenario. The second best fan performance of the day, I think, by the Saints.
Congratulations.
And I will say, it does go to show how much we all love and cherish Nick Shook.
Oh, yeah.
Because about 3 times a week, one or multiple members of this group says Tyler Shook instead of Tyler Shough. So good job, Nick Shook. You're in our heads.
You were supposed to ask me who did have the best fan performance of the day. See, I said the second most.
Well, Greg, since you brought
it's
up
like
the second best fan
list.
performance, I do want to know, shout out to Jerry Madelon teaching me about on-ramp. Who had the best?
It was the Chargers fans who in AT&T Stadium, the fan base that doesn't get any love, is chanting, "Let's go Chargers, let's go Chargers."
No, Greg.
And Derwin James is running through all the Chargers fans who kind of were on the field like late in the game, like high-fiving and stuff. It was the Chargers fans there. And you know what that was?
What's that?
Jamming in a point from earlier in the show that I forgot about. Here we go.
Well, you know,
Heyo.
the rule is, Greg, if you hear an opposing fan base make noise, you can only comment on it if it happens across the street at SoFi Stadium, where is the only place, apparently, where other fans come to watch football.
Let's talk about a fan base who has been beleaguered and deserved to have a game where they saw their young quarterback, talk about development, put in a clean, dominant performance. Yes, the Tennessee Titans won in a blowout today.
Pacheco moves back a yard in the end zone. Make that Kareem Hunt is back there. And it's Hunt that'll get it. And Hunt is safety. That is a safety. Okay. Jeff Simmons gets the safety in the back of the end zone. And the Titans score first. It's 2-0.
That's a hell yeah, 2-0.
Jeff Simmons blowing up offensive linemen. He just whipped right around Coach Esapale, the left tackle, and Hunt had no chance.
Dave McGinnis, the color man. Man, this is what the lack of Titans wins over the last few years has robbed us from. He does a great job. He's with Taylor Zarzur on WGFX. The Titans win 26-9, so a 0-0 scoreless tie there early in the second quarter. And I'm thinking, I want that Jeffrey Simmons safety as the highlight. That's going to be the decisive play. And it wasn't decisive, and yet Jeffrey Simmons is so freaking awesome. I just wanted to give him the honor of a highlight. 26-9, the Titans win in a game where they rack up almost 400 yards of offense in the end, and they only give up 133 and 9 first downs to the Kansas City Chiefs, who, yes, lost Gardner Minshew to what they fear is a torn ACL 5 drives into this game. But I got to say, Gardner Minshew was a problem for them playing before he got hurt, and the offense actually got a little better after he left. But how about a normal, really good, clean game by the Tennessee Titans and their quarterback?
Creditable, even. I would
Better.
Yes.
This was better.
You know what?
Better.
All Jeffrey Simmons does is score freaking points, guys. All he does is make pointed comments that alert the media that the head coach is about to be fired and get points, and he's all out of head coaches who are going to be fired. That man is getting points.
And he was on the field, and they called the penalty on him for not being ineligible, and then they called him the legal formation. And the replay showed he clearly waved his hand, pointed at the official, did everything, and they took points off the board for the poor Titans because of a Jeffrey Simmons penalty. He was acting as like a decoy on offense, and it absolutely worked. Ultimately, it didn't matter because Tajay Spears got a touchdown there. He's been playing really well, goes over 100 yards from scrimmage, had a really good catch and run. And yeah, the biggest takeaway for me in this game, Patrick, I'm not sure how many like badass throws you got to see of Cam Ward because you were on television hosting Game Day Live. But did you see? I'm not going to make it a throw of the year. Well, it depends how many candidates we have, and you can just watch it. We don't need to listen to the sound. But him to Chimere Dike during this game was really awesome. And the thing I liked in this game, and the thing I liked about this play was all of his other throw of the year nominees are rolling right, and this is him rolling left. I mean, that's
throwing into the shadow too, toward the sideline. That's beautiful.
It is so good. But how many good?
He's got 2 now, doesn't he? 2 nominations.
Oh, he's got 5.
Yeah, he's got several.
Yeah.
The rest of the game, though, he had a lot of really good, just on time, in rhythm throws from the pocket to Io Manor, to DK, and the head coaching staff. I've been on Mike McCoy all year. Hell, let's give them another highlight. Why not? They almost looked like they had like a Kansas City Chiefs-like trick play to Okonkwo for a touchdown.
Cam takes a shotgun snap, fakes the handoff, instead throws a shovel pass, and Okonkwo gets to the goal line, and that is a Titans touchdown.
That was sweet.
That's a little Mike McDaniel.
Okonkwo on a shovel pass. Comes back to the middle of the formation. That is Chig's First touchdown of the season, his 7th of his NFL career. Counts as a catch, too.
You got to do a 360 spin around, fake pitch to the wide receiver, shovel pass to the tight. That's Andy Reid's move. I mean, that is an Andy Reid type of play, and they're doing it with the great one on the sideline.
It was a nice sleight of hand because yes, I'm calling that highlight on Game Day Live, and I thought he handed the ball off to Chico Conquo.
Yeah.
I didn't even see where the ball was looking from the sideline angle, so I know the Chiefs were struggling to see it, and yeah, he keeps making plays, and got to get more Jeffrey Simmons reps on offense. Make this
Build the
team a
whole
little more.
playing out of Jeffrey Simmons.
Yes, because it's gonna work. It's gonna survive.
It was tough to watch the Chiefs in the first game without Patrick Mahomes. Man, Travis Kelce, 4 targets, 6 yards. Minshew leaves, and like I said, when he left, they had 2 first downs and -2 points because they had taken that safety when he was under center. And yeah, on Christmas, we're going to have Chris Oludekun playing quarterback for the Chiefs.
Nailed it.
Thank you. And it's a tough name to pronounce. I don't know if I did name it. I don't think I did nail it.
It depends because the phonetics, because he transferred
Yeah.
to South Dakota State, was at Sanford for a while. Shout out to the Bulldogs. You get Oladokin and Oludekun and others, and we have to get to Chris to let us know. We're going to have a lot of opportunity to spend time with him.
Depending on the draw.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I think it is Oladokin, who looked okay for a third string quarterback for a while and was making some plays out of structure, but eventually looked like a third string quarterback, and they just don't have enough playmakers. No Rashee Rice, not much of a running game. And for any Chiefs fans watching this too, like I thought Steve Spagnuolo and the defense might be like up for the challenge, and they threw a lot at Cam Ward early, and they were not up for the challenge. They got steamrolled in the second half of this game. I'm going to say goodbye to you guys, but we're actually not taking a break. It's going to be a rare sleight of hand where I say goodbye to the two of you, and we welcome in Nick Shook without a single break. Now get out of here quickly. Go.
Hey, Shook.
Harrison Smith cheats to the line of scrimmage. Now he backs off. Dart on 4th down, back to pass. He's sacked by Andrew Van Ginkel. And the Vikings have turned over the New York Giants on downs.
Some things in life you can just count on, and that's Paul Allen delivering with a big-time call when Andrew Van Ginkel delivers a big-time sack to end the Giants' chances in a 16-13 victory for the New York. Nope, it's the Minnesota Vikings who won this game despite losing their quarterback. But it was more about the defense, wasn't it, Shook?
A sleight of hand all over the place here. You just pull a fast one on our listeners again. Yeah, it was all about the defense. Let me just illustrate this to you real quick. One stat. We like success rate, right?
Yes.
The Giants' drop back success rate today was 10.5%.
Oh, my God.
That is what a Brian Flores defense can do to a rookie quarterback. Jackson Dart had no idea what to do against this defense. Even when he was able to get rid of the ball, oftentimes it came up short. The Vikings didn't even have to do very much offensively. J.J. McCarthy wasn't very great in the first half. He ends up leaving with an injury. Max Brosmer comes in. He has to make like one completion of significance. They kick a couple of field goals. It's over. You sack Dart again. Vikings win. That's pretty much the story of this game.
The Giants had 13 yards passing. You don't see that too often. It's actually a bottom 5 total in the last 5 years. I was like, I'm surprised there was, lesser ones than that, but you remember there was negative yardage in that horrific Jets game. So it's happened. The Giants, by the way, 3 of the worst 5 performances of the last 5 years. It's the Giants offense. So there's the common factor there. And this Vikings defense has been playing great down the stretch. The Vikings have gotten to 7-8. So I'm not saying they should be, given any flowers, but they kind of are ending up closer to where people thought they were going to be in the first place, despite not having a quarterback consistently playing well.
Yeah, and that's fair. And my biggest concern with them going forward is like you see J.J. McCarthy take some small steps forward. They know that he's got a lot to work on in the offseason. But I think about, I don't want to call it fragility, but a lack of durability so far. He leaves with another injury today. That's the 4th time an injury has cost him some sort of time, whether it was the following game or it was an injury that occurred after a game or time in a game. This is the first time he left during a game, right? So as you go into next year with this positive momentum that you've built and your defense is playing well despite losing a couple of guys, Jonathan Grenard being one of them, I still worry, like they have to find a quality backup for next year just to keep themselves stable, because that is what tanked this season for them, was not having consistent quarterback play once McCarthy went down. Now we're watching this. If you're watching on YouTube, McCarthy had a pass that was tipped and picked off and returned for a touchdown. This was negated by Abdul Carter lining up offsides. Abdul Carter, who had a fantastic day, by the way. That's how bad things are for the Giants, but it's also, that kind of just indicates how the Vikings really weren't that great.
Watch the tackle attempt by J.J. McCarthy. I love the effort. He's sprinting after the play. He has no chance, and he does another somersault. Just running down the field, he does another somersault. Any eagle eye fans out there watching, that was an amazing moment in this game. He did have about 4 or 5 drops, Shook, in this game, although a lot of them were heaters like that one. Like that one where that play to me is a little on JJ and certainly on even maybe more on Naylor too. So it's unfortunate he left with an injury that happened on a screen pass where he shows a little bit of a lack of awareness. I get that the screen pass is defended and maybe you can get on O'Connell, but you got to just dirt that ball and be aware that pressure is coming. And he gets absolutely crushed by Brian Burns on that play. And hopefully that's not the end of his season. We'll see. We could have Max Brosmer, Chris Oludekun, and Josh Johnson all playing on Christmas. That's crazy.
I feel like we're like one more away from getting another random quarterback that's going to play. I mean, we're in the deep. We're deep in the winter, baby.
Don't say it. Some injuries in this game just to know about. Ryan Kelly, who's had a long, good career, has had concussion problems over the last few years, left with a concussion that's at least his 3rd this season. You have to wonder about his future in general. Andrew Thomas, the great left tackle for the Giants, left with a hamstring injury here. And then Christian Darrisaw and Jonathan Grenard, just kind of closing the book on them for the season, were placed on injured reserve since we last talked. So they're without many of their best players, but they do find a way to get a victory. Let's go to Arizona, where the Cardinals have not been able to get in the win column for a long time.
London to the right. Robinson's the running back. Here's the 3rd down play. Cousins looks. Coming open is Pitts. Touchdown Atlanta. He crossed the line, came right across the field at the goal line, and Kirk Cousins put it right on the 8 for the touchdown.
Kirk Cousins, Kyle Pitts. They make beautiful music together, Shook. Another 7-catch game here for Kyle Pitts. He gets back in the end zone. Bijan Robinson's doing Bijan Robinson things, and they come back from a 13-3 deficit to beat the Arizona Cardinals. The Atlanta Falcons are 6-9 on the season. The Cardinals are 3-12. Why did you pick Pitts as your highlight for the game?
It was probably the most satisfying highlight of the game, other than Michael Wilson's absurd touchdown catch. I can't remember who it was. Chris, who was the receiver who played for Seattle in the Super Bowl, who made that incredible catch down the sideline where it just like bounced off of like his midsection, and he caught it while he was already falling to the ground. I think it was Super Bowl, 42 or not 42, somewhere around there, right? Seahawks, Patriots. He made a catch very similar to this. That was the only touchdown of the day for the Cardinals.
We're watching it right now.
We're watching on YouTube. It was fantastic. It was absurd. He has no control of the ball. It just kind of ends up between his legs, and he is aware enough to pinch his thighs together, and that's how he gains possession of the football in the end zone. It was outrageous, but that was the peak of the Cardinals' offensive performance for the day when it came to getting into the end zone, because otherwise they had to settle for field goals. And meanwhile, Kirk Cousins, he doesn't throw for 350, but he keeps this offense going, which is why I like the Pitts highlight, because Pitts didn't have any spectacular plays, but that touchdown was pretty pivotal in their efforts to come back and take a lead and eventually take a step ahead. But make no mistake, Greg, the story of the day is our favorite guy wearing a Falcons uniform. It's Bijan Robinson.
What?
I mean, they leaned on him. They leaned on him for 168 scrimmage yards. Woo! I mean, this is a guy who, I think that was on 23 touches. This is a guy who just powers this offense, running, passing, running, receiving. He was actually just as effective as a receiver as he was a runner today. I mean, this is, if you get him the ball this often and he produces, their chances of winning are just going to go up, and it makes Kirk Cousins' job easier, and it allows him to just kind of dink and dunk down the field. And that's how you end up with Kyle Pitts highlight, because the rest is just Bijan carrying the way.
The receiver I think you're talking about from the Seahawks, by the way, is Chris Matthews.
Matthews, yeah.
Who had 109 yards in a Super Bowl. I mean, Russell Wilson and that team deserves some credit. It was him and Ricardo Lockett getting it done, going head-to-head with Tom Brady, and a couple yards away from getting it done. Bijan Robinson, now has over 2,000 yards from scrimmage in 15 games. I mean, that is outrageous for the season, and all the games count equal, but you get me a guy who can just keep on putting up 150 to 200 every single week during the fantasy playoffs, and, I'll love you a little more. So shout out to Jourdan, who's just
last
performing.
Falcon to do that, by the way, Greg.
Yes.
Jamal Anderson, 1998, doing a little dirty bird, Let's
go. I don't know what I was doing.
I don't think the box is big enough for me to properly do it, but you know what I'm saying.
Some injuries just to point out on what was a nightmare game for the Arizona Cardinals. It's really sad to see. Like, the last thing you want to see in this game is injuries, especially serious injuries potentially to young players. And Walter Nolan left on a cart. That looked like a serious injury. He was very emotional. And Garrett Williams, their very good second-year cornerback, also left with what they're calling an Achilles injury. That looked very serious. Nolan is their first-round pick from this year and had really flashed when he was on the field. So just really unfortunate, and we'll see. Ian Rappaport reported that he thinks Jonathan Gannon is more likely to be safe than not. I have my doubts just based on logic and how these games are going. Josh Sweat also got hurt in this game.
Yeah. That was the big issue for me, I think, is just if you look at this Cardinals team through the course of this season, they have battled for Jonathan Gannon. Their effort has always been there. It's just they have weathered so many personnel losses. And today was just another example of that. Sweat, like you mentioned, Nolan, like you mentioned, even Budda Baker left for a little bit before coming back. Marvin Harrison comes back from a 2-week absence, and he only plays 50% of snaps and is invisible until the fourth quarter. They have gone through it in terms of personnel losses. And I just maybe this is just wishful thinking for me, but I think if they were a fully healthy or close to fully healthy team, they would be better than 3-12.
They were once 2-1.
Exactly.
And then the next two games, they lost at the buzzer to the 49ers, good team, and to the Seahawks by 3 points. Oh, that's right. They were 2-0 at one point. They lost to, that is really crazy that they have had this long of a losing streak. Eventually they get that third win, 3-5, but yeah, they've lost 7 straight since. Rough season for Arizona. Let's talk about two teams that are more in the mix. We're going to take one final break, and we're going to finish off this Week 16 recap with the big Sunday nighter, Ravens and Patriots.
The 21, Stevenson bouncing outside. Ramondre Stevenson with a block by Williams to the end zone. The Patriots take the lead. Touchdown, New England. He's had a terrific night in a variety of areas. And without Travion Henderson out with injury, Ramondre Stevenson steps up and gives the Pats the lead. Some of the Patriots fans who've made the trip chanting MVP for Drake May.
A rare treat where we get to hear from Mike Tirico on NBC calling Ramondre Stevenson's go-ahead touchdown in the fourth quarter. Patriots come back from double digits in the final frame to win 28-24. And yes, it's Ramondre finishing it up. But as you heard from those fans who traveled for the game, Drake May making a statement, has a season high in yardage, 380 yards and a couple touchdowns. His legs also important. He gets the game finishing scramble with a stylish slide a la Justin Herbert, and the Patriots escape the Ravens 28-24 in a game that saw them lose Lamar Jackson at halftime. Shook, this game had so much going on, but what were you thinking as the Patriots pulled out that fourth quarter comeback? What was most impressive to you?
I think I'll take a step further back, and I'll go to when the Ravens took a 24-13 lead with a very dominant drive, a dominant performance by Derrick Henry on that drive. It finishes with a 2-yard run, but he was just knifing through the defense. I thought, you know what? This is a playoff-like environment. This looks like the Ravens of old. They have the mojo back in M&T Bank Stadium, and I don't know if the Patriots are cut out for an environment like that. And what did they promptly do? They responded by mounting one heck of a comeback. It kind of starts with Drake May peppering the field with passes before hitting Kyle Williams on a bomb of a touchdown, a spectacular throw and catch. That gives them new hope. And then they get the stop that they desperately need. And then it's all Drake May converting a 4th and 2 to Stephon Diggs, who was fired up the whole night. It's Drake May getting them down in position. They're doing everything. They convert. They win the game with the Ramondre Stevenson touchdown run. And like you said, that slide. And that moment, I thought, wow, I can't believe I ever questioned them. Mike Vrabel's team, I feel like in that moment, he probably had a thought in the sideline where he was like, all right, we're going to see what my guys are made of right now, because this is the biggest moment of adversity we faced all year. And they showed him that they are ready for it.
I mean, I thought they were cooked. Henry goes for 128 yards and 2 touchdowns. Zay Flowers has that touchdown run. And so even though Lamar gets the back injury, you're thinking, okay, Patriots, we're going to win this game. It's not like their defense played well. I mean, the Ravens missed a field goal, then scored 2 straight touchdowns with Tyler Huntley. And then the Patriots give them great field position after a failed fake punt where the Ravens had it really well defended, but it's just ugly when you have a fake that is that well defended. And it
was a strange call too. I didn't really like the call,
especially with Tyler Huntley at quarterback to give them the short field that they did. But you mentioned the Kyle Williams throw, and I'm not saying this was an MVP moment, Shook, but it might be a second team All-Pro moment. And it might be, hey, there's 2 weeks left still. It's Sunday Night Football. The door is going to just stay open for a couple more weeks type of moment.
Gain of 9 on the catch by Diggs. 1st and 10, shotgun snap. May back, going to take a shot deep down the right side for Kyle Williams, and he makes the catch. Was he in bounds? Yes! Touchdown, Patriots! Drake made a Kyle Williams, a 37-yard touchdown, and just like that, it's a 24-19 game, 9:01 to go, and the Patriots will go for 2.
How about that response from New England?
That's right. That's Ryan Radke and Derek Rackley on Westwood One. Good to have them in the mix this year. Kyle Williams only catches ridiculous touchdowns. It's really ridiculous. This 3rd-round pick, who I said was, before the draft, before the Patriots took him, was maybe my favorite player in the draft, now has 6 catches on the year, and 3 of them are ridiculous touchdowns. So good job by Kyle Williams. And that throw followed by the 2-point conversion where Drake May makes time in the pocket and then throws a little push pass. That's what stood out to me, and we don't need to spend the whole time on May. But the deep throw to Kayshon Boutte, which he can't hold on to, and it was just a terrible missed pass interference call. And the 4th down to Diggs and a couple of the other throws to Hunter Henry on the goal line and Hooper. It's just a variety of different throws, and so many were after making a defender or 2 miss. That's what has made May special in the season. And yeah, I don't think he's the front runner for MVP, but a night like tonight, I think everyone got to see kind of where he's at right now in his career, and it's a big win for them. The Bills would have been right back tied for the top of the division, and now the Patriots keep a game lead with a pretty favorable schedule the next 2 weeks.
I also thought it was a really interesting demonstration of May's ability to evade the rush, because for most of this game, their offensive line deficiencies or weaknesses, not having Will Campbell out there, were pretty apparent. The Ravens were getting after him. I don't know what the pressure numbers off the top of my head were, but they were getting after him consistently. And for the first time in a while, I felt like, oh wait, May is not evading the rush. He's not getting out, in space and improvising. And then suddenly he turned it on in the 4th quarter, and he was making plays like that. And you're right. It was the 2-point conversion where I was like, oh, that is, there was a couple of throws, but it was that one. And there was another one where they had over the middle where he's just getting clobbered right as he releases it. And his intended target catches the ball. And I'm thinking, man, he's taking some hits and he is unfazed. And that is the mark of a quarterback who could take you a long way in this game.
44% pressure rate without the Ravens blitzing a ton. There are concerns for the Patriots to give up, back-to-back touchdowns, when Huntley's at quarterback. They haven't been a good red zone team, but this was an important win for them, obviously. And if they tied in the division, then they're probably going to win the division. So it is a pretty easy path for them to now win. They have the Jets and the Dolphins to finish up, and I think just one of those will end up getting them the division title for the Patriots. The Ravens, on the other hand, just a nightmare game. They showed the stat up, tonight that they've blown more 4th quarter leads with at least a 7-point lead than any team in a 5-year span in NFL history. And you lose Lamar Jackson to a back injury. We'll have to see if he's available for next week's game against the Packers. But because of that Steelers win, they are now down 2 with 2 games to go. It doesn't take a lot of computers to figure it out, Shook. They could be eliminated in different scenarios, but they're not eliminated. So that tells you the magic number's 1. They got to win out, including that Week 18 game against the Steelers, and they need the Steelers to lose next week against the Browns to even have a chance. It looks like they're done. This looks like the moment, and I don't want to spend a long time on it because we will talk about it later in the week, and we talked about it on Saturday's show. Check out our coaching recap. But I think John Harbaugh's out. I think because they keep making the same mistakes over and over, including the fourth quarter collapses, like right down to the Zay Flowers fumble at the end. It was sort of, unfortunately, like a play in the hits type of night. Derrick Henry with a costly fumble, Zay Flowers with a costly fumble as well for them.
Yeah, and I need to know why Derrick Henry wasn't on the field on their penultimate drive, because they were still nursing a lead at that point, and he had just cut right through the Patriots defense, and he was on the sideline in a jacket the entire time, and they were relying on Keaton Mitchell and Rasheen Ali to get it done, which obviously they didn't get it done. That's a question that I definitely need answered, but it is crazy to think that like a season like this, which, yeah, the collapses have been a thing for them for 5 years. It's been one of the most glaring issues with this team over the last 5 years. Ravens fans will be the first to tell you that. But this season, more than any, just kind of illustrated the importance of Lamar Jackson and how they finally couldn't overcome his absences, because he's been out before. There was, years in past years where he'd get hurt late in the year and Tyler Huntley would have to fill in. He makes his way back to the team this year after being, with the Browns in the preseason and everything else. And yet it just felt like this team, they got slow out of the gate. They blow that lead to the Bills in week 1. It's like they were always fighting uphill. And John Harbaugh felt like a coach that was never going to leave Baltimore. And yet this has happened so many times now that, yeah, I agree with you. And you could kind of see it on his face on the sideline. He just looked exasperated, disappointed, just kind of sad at the result. Oh my God, this is happening again. This might be it. And I don't really know where this team necessarily goes from here. But if you look back at the season, you have to point to the fact that Lamar missed a good chunk of games. That's the biggest issue.
That's fair. And yet they just are a team that finds a way to lose games. And they've done it with Lamar at quarterback this year. And Tyler Huntley comes in. It was similar-ish. Not that he made nearly as many plays as Malik Willis. But to me, he wasn't that high on the reasons of why they lost this game. He went 9 for 10 for 65 yards. They had a couple touchdown drives. Obviously, the Patriots again get lucky with who gets knocked out or who they miss on the schedule or their schedule. Everyone's going to keep pointing this out with Lamar Jackson leaving. I would have liked to see how that game ended with Lamar Jackson, but it was the defense and it was, timely mistakes by players that you trust. Zay Flowers and Marlon Humphrey, although they didn't call that PI, and Derrick Henry and different members of the defense. And that's it. And meanwhile, the Patriots get a huge play by Claybon Chason at the end to force that Zay Flowers fumble. And so it's on a night where they had a lot of injuries as well, including a concussion for Travion Henderson. They move on. They get their 12th win of the year. They stay in the mix for the 1 seed. The Jaguars were watching this game and thinking, we could have passed the Patriots in the AFC standings. But as we stand now, it's Broncos 1, Patriots 2. And the way this is all shaken out, I hate to say it, Shook, we said it at the end of last week's show. Again, the results are setting up for the last couple weeks to be less important. The Ravens might hand the Steelers the division title on Saturday night if they can't beat the Packers in a game, even with Lamar Jackson. They might be underdogs. So that race will essentially be over. And unless the Colts can pull off an upset on Monday night, I think we're going to have a feel of who our 7 teams are. We just got to figure out the order. And the Lions with their loss today too are in deep, deep trouble. And we kind of know who the NFC teams are going to be as well. It's just going to find out if it's going to be the Bucs or the Panthers. A couple just items to go over before we get out of here. Pat Bryant, rather, for the Broncos. You might have been watching that game and you saw him get stretchered off at the end, and that was a scary situation. He did have feelings in his arms, in his legs, his extremities. After the game, he was taken to the hospital for concussion-like symptoms, but it does sound like the worst case scenario was avoided for Pat Bryant. So just best wishes to him getting better. And then we somehow didn't talk about the DK Metcalf, fan interaction. And so I did, want to address that here, not in the flow of the game. Another angle of the DK Metcalf fan interaction, we'll call it, during that Lions game came out, taken by a fan with a cell phone at the game, and it confirms something we were talking about in the newsroom. Patrick, Claybon was the first one I heard say it, and then it was really confirmed by this second angle that he grabs the fan by the collar, and the fan spoke with the Detroit Free Press about what he was saying to DK Metcalf. Not that we can trust him at his word. He was calling him by his full name, he said, and he doesn't like to be called by his full name. And I think DK told him to stop saying that. He kept saying that. But the second video pretty clearly shows DK Metcalf did not throw a punch, which I thought it was a little irresponsible. A lot of articles saying DK Metcalf throws a punch, this and that. Pretty clearly grabs the collar, and then he lets it go while kind of, gesturing at him and leaving. But I think that makes it less likely, Nick, that he gets suspended for this. We'll have to see. I think a fine is coming to DK Metcalf, but the NFL crew on the game clarified if the officials didn't see it at the game, that's not something that New York can step in and, officiate and kick him out of the game. If they didn't see it, and it's, pretty clear, why they wouldn't see it. It's just a random moment after a play. Then they can't do anything there. But they could fine him. They could potentially suspend him, but I don't think so based on the video that we saw.
Yeah, we're not going to Zapruder film this, but yeah, the second angle that we can't play on YouTube right now looks very much like he emphatically released the collar as if to make a point to whatever he said in return, and doesn't look like a punch. And I thought when I saw that first angle, it didn't really have the body language of someone who was throwing a punch.
Yes.
And obviously it's not a good look regardless. Ultimately, you think there's no reason for you to be over there at all. And that's what's most important. But we'll see how the NFL handles it. I would imagine at minimum a fine. I don't know if they'll go with the suspension. And the Steelers, hopefully they're hoping that they'll have him. We'll see if they will.
Yeah. The fan, by the way, didn't mind speaking to the Detroit Free Press. They asked him and he said, "My words don't matter," because it was on camera. When asked about, what he was saying to DK, and then he asked what his name was. He said, "My name is the biggest Detroit Lions fan ever that got attacked by Decalen Zacharias Metcalf." And apparently that's what he kept calling DK Metcalf. And quickly, people on social, went out and found him dressing up in various gear to try to make opponents mad over the years. So maybe that will be considered.
So he's an instigator, is what you're saying.
I am definitely saying that. Okay. Good Sunday, great games. Even though we kind of know who's going to make the playoffs for the most part, these games really delivered, and I'm hoping the same is true on Monday night. So Nick Shook's back in the throne, doing his recaps. We got 2 Monday night games to go, Shook. We're going live on YouTube for Phillip Rivers. Can he complete the impossible dream and get a win against a good 49ers team? Join us live on YouTube on the NFL channel. We'll see you then.